South Carolina opens up spring practice this week, and depending when you're watching this video, they may have already had one or several practices under their belt. And one of the most talked about quarterbacks heading into 2024 is Lanorris Sellers, the young quarterback for South Carolina. But despite all the hype and despite all the excitement around Sellers, which I've bought into, admittedly, there's still a quarterback competition, especially heading into the season when you only have a quarterback that, Sellers threw 4 passes last year, right? So despite the hype, despite all the talent around him, there's still a quarterback competition, according to Beamer. We're going to get into what Beamer has said about the quarterback competition and what he's looking for. But before we do, I want to take a few minutes and look at Lanorris Sellers, look at what he brings to the table and what the potential is, and talk about Robby Ashford as well, the transfer quarterback from Auburn, because there's a role for him. Despite if he doesn't win this competition, I still think there's a role for him at South Carolina in the quarterback room. So let's talk about Lanorris Sellers. If you talk to any South Carolina fan, they're extremely excited. They've bought into the hype, and a lot of their excitement has caused me to buy into the hype, even though I've seen 4 passes in college and 1 really long touchdown run, right? So even with that said, despite the hype, despite the excitement, there's still a lot of unknown around Sellers, right? So now with spring ball coming in, you get to see these 15, 16 practices of what it's like being in a quarterback competition, how he handles different setups, how he handles the schemes, how he handles the structure, right? Last year, he knew he was a backup, or he knew he was a backup when you had Spencer Rattler. It's a lot different now being the guy. So while he's expected to be the guy, especially from South Carolina fans and SEC fans, probably just anyone in general, you still want to see how he responds to this competition that he's in, right? So a lot of unknowns still, but this is where you start to at least get some answers. Not all the answers, but you get some answers during spring. And they've already had some. They've already had throwing sessions during the offseason. They've already had different stuff thrown their way during the offseason. Like during offseason for us, coaches would be in the press box because they only have a certain amount of hours that they can be with you during the offseason, and they give you the script to run through with your receivers or with your other quarterbacks, right? So you may practice 2-minute drill one day, you may practice out routes or in routes the next day, whatever it may be, and they're up there watching. So Sellers has already had plenty of kind of time during the offseason to be the guy with his teammates, but now you get to see it in spring camp, right? So only minimal time playing last year, but the minimal time that he played, he had 4 completions and 2 of them were touchdowns. I think it was the first game. Then he had that long 36-yard run. So he flashed and he showed why South Carolina fans are so excited for him. And looking back at his senior season in high school, if we look back on 247 real quick, he did something that really stood out to me that Beamer kind of referenced, not directly to Sellers, but I think it fits what Beamer references, which we'll get to in a second. But Sellers had, I think, 40-something touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. So he took care of the ball. And Coach Beamer talked about the importance of your starting quarterback taking care of the ball, again, which we'll get to. He had a lot of yards on the ground as well. He also said that he played soccer in high school, so I think it's kind of a unique sport to play as well as with the quarterback position. A lot of quarterbacks you see play baseball or play basketball, so I think soccer adds a different skill set, right? But Lanorris Sellers, a lot to like, a lot of excitement around him. So like I said, there's still a lot of unknown, but I've already bought into the hype, right? But with that said, there's still a quarterback competition going on. So let's talk about Ashford real quick. What does he bring to the table? Well, number one, he brings plenty of experience. Not just experience, playing here and there. I think he started like 9-something games in 2022 before Peyton Thorne came in. Then he was the backup last year to Thorne. But he's gotten plenty of experience in the SEC. Again, didn't light the world on fire by any means. Struggled throwing the ball at times. But he showed that there is something there. Over 900 yards on the ground, 1,700 yards plus passing, 9 touchdowns, 9 picks, and 12 touchdowns on the ground, So what I like about Ashford and Sellers in general is depending on who wins this competition, you don't have to change the offense all that much because it's a similar skill set. Both can use their legs and both can drive the ball downfield, even if Ashford hasn't shown to be consistent with it. But so the offense doesn't have to change a ton, like in some different offenses where one's a pocket guy, one's just a more of a mobile guy. So I think that's a good scheme fit stand-wise from a standpoint of just not having to change your offense all that much. So let's look at this interview that Beamer did with J.D. Pickell on On3. I'll link it below. J.D. Pickell is an awesome guy, does great stuff, friend of the show. So I'll link it in the description below if you haven't seen it yet, because Beamer does talk about the quarterback competition and talked about just making smart decisions, not turning the ball over. So here are a few quotes from Shane Beamer in that interview when asked what he looks for from the quarterback. Beamer goes, the leadership and then tangibles you want at the position, and somebody that can lead our football team. And then for me, it's really just being able to protect the football, make good decisions. All 3 seasons that I've been here at South Carolina, we've been first or second in takeaways defensively. So we've done a great job creating turnovers on the defense side of the ball, but we need to do an even better job offensively protecting the ball. So just a guy that will make great decisions, lead our offense, and give us a chance to win football games. So that kind of goes back to what Sellers did in high school, taking care of the football with all those touchdowns. You had a ton of that TD to interception ratio was like 20-1 or 22-1 in high school, somewhere along that lines. And not saying that Ashford can't take care of the football, now that he's in a different scheme, different position. But you don't want a TD to interception ratio of 1-1 like Ashford has as of right now. I still kind of like Ashford. I think this QB competition could be closer than maybe people think, right? Let's go on and look at the rest of the interview, because Beamer did say something interesting that I liked. He talked about Lanorris Sellers will still be in full contact during practice despite the QB battle, or at least there'll be some contact. And Beamer kind of talks about why that is. You want to get young guys hit, not like taking your head off, but you want them to experience getting hit, so the first time they get hit isn't in a real game. So it's a little bit different philosophy than probably most schools. But they make a lot of money. They make a lot more money than I do. So they are definitely qualified for that decision. So Beamer goes on, talks about that decision. He says, we've done this every year that I've been here. We did it last spring. We did it last August with some of the young quarterbacks that haven't been hit. I don't want to say let them get hit, but we need to throw them in the fire. And he goes on and talks about how it's important, especially for a quarterback like Sellers who uses his legs. You don't want to blow the whistle too quickly. You want to see what he can do with his legs. You want to see what the play would have been as opposed to blowing too soon. Now, once they get closer to games, if Sellers is the guy, and regardless who's the guy, I doubt they hit their quarterbacks. Actually, I know they won't hit their quarterbacks. But as of right now, I don't think it's a bad philosophy by any means, as long as you can keep everyone healthy, right? But with that said, spring ball starts tomorrow, or it may already have been going on, depending when you're watching this video. But this competition that we'll keep up with during spring practice, maybe some film breakdowns of each guy to kind of like see, where guys lacking and what, or is there some guy having an advantage somewhere else? Again, I think Sellers is going to be the guy. I think there's a lot of hype around him for a reason. I'm really excited to watch him take that next step. But even with that said, there's still a quarterback competition going on, and I think I know the coaches want to see Sellers elevate himself with that competition. But South Carolina fans, what do you think, one, about the competition, and then two, what makes you so excited about Lanorris Sellers? Again, there's several guys I'm close with that I talk to who are in the South Carolina community and follow them very closely, who are really excited. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, we're just a big quarterback hub. We talk all things quarterbacks, a lot of SEC quarterback content. So if that's kind of your niche, please consider subscribing to the channel and following us along. But regardless, like and share the video. Again, let us know your thoughts in the comments below about Sellers, Ashford, Beamer's comments. Let us know. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.